Good day, welcome. It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. Good to have you with us here as we launch another week of programs. I'm Jerry Usher along with Debbie Georgiani, and we'll have a topic to present to you here in just a moment. We're looking for your takes on pinching pennies. We're going to ask you if you can narrow it down to your top three penny pinching ideas or money saving ideas, Debbie. But first, of course, we want to just let everybody in Houston and that whole region of the country know that our prayers have been with them and remain with them for the ordeal they're going through.
Absolutely. We're ramping up the prayers. Please know that. And I know that there's been just a ton of Facebook posts and different things on TV where we can financially help as well. And it's just we really need to group together and be there for one another. It's been just a horrific ordeal that they're going through and still going through. I understand the rains are coming in again. So our hearts are with you. Please know that. Yes, indeed. May God be very, very present there and limit the damage, hopefully deaths and injuries and displacements and all of that. It's hard to imagine living through something like that. You see it coming and you know there's nothing you can do about it except pray, and that's what we're doing. And again, today on the program, we're talking about stewardship and frugality, and every single one of us, Debbie, I think without exception, we can look at the way we live our lives and we can find ways to spend less, to save more. And, a lot of the fruit of these particular things that we do, it allows us to be maybe more generous to our favorite charities, give more to the church, things like this. So we're looking for people's takes today on some of the creative ways that they have found to save a few pennies along the way. So that's what we're talking about today. We titled the show Pinching Pennies, and it really does weave into our spiritual life. So if you have something to say about this or some wisdom to impart to us, please, now's the time to do it. 1-800-585-9396. And Jerry, you made me think of this when you said being kind of frugal or watching what we spend so it enables us to help others. Well, I'm thinking of what's happening with our friends and neighbors in Houston, and I'm thinking, well, you know what, this is a perfect example of that. If we were to maybe not get the things that we maybe want, and we only give into the things we need, then there are those available resources that we can help our brothers and sisters when they're also in need or in dire straits. And so I really feel that this is a wonderful topic for us to discuss because it does play into us as being Christ in the world. 1-800-585-9396. That's the number to be on the show. Please don't hesitate if you have something to say about this.
Yeah, and Debbie and I here quite often, we host a lot of Catholic Radio pledge drives, and we know that people stretch. You are so generous in stretching. You maybe can't make that $50 a month pledge, so you make a $20 a month pledge. And there are a lot of people who wish that they could give more, who wish they had maybe a little bit more to put clothes on their kids' backs going to school and all of that. So what you share today, you could share something that's really been a great money-saving, penny-pinching practice for you for a long time. And other people listening are going to go, that light bulb is going to go on, Debbie, and they're going to say, wow, we can do that.
Right.
We can do that. And then that provides a little bit of breathing room because, Debbie, so many people today, let's face it, are barely getting by financially.
That's true. Marty and I started something recently, and it's kind of become a fun game for us, if you will, because we really just think it's a good way to be in the world right now, especially at our age, because we're getting older and we feel that, food is something that we want to nourish our bodies and do well, but we don't want to be extravagant about it. So Marty and I have gone on this quest, if you will, when we do go out to dinner together on date night, we go to places where we get two for one entrees. And we love it. We just think it's a blast. We save a lot of money, and it becomes like a little bit of a challenge for us. And we find that we're eating better, we're eating less, and it makes us feel good that we're being able to spend a night out at a restaurant, and it doesn't cost us, like what the light bill would be or something of that nature. So it's just kind of, I never thought I would get to that point, because I used to think that's what, believe it or not, I used to think that's what senior citizens do, but that's where I am now. So there you go, 1-800-585-9396.
Well, for as many people as we have listening, there are that many of you who could have a take on this topic today. Talking about pinching pennies, I'm going to mention, I think that we're asking if you have three, if you can come up with three. And Debbie, mine are going to be, I think, pretty across the board, standard. But recently, it was probably about 6 months ago, I did the inventory of my credit card statements, and I looked at what I was paying for my home phone, which I never use. I just had it for another purpose, for my internet and for my TV. And I thought, oh my goodness, I can't. So I looked around, I found a bundle that was available, and I cut that in half. I cut it in half.
Wow.
12-month deal. There was actually no contract. It's month to month. And so I saved a bunch of money there. You know what also I do? I use one of those food savers, when I cook a bunch of food, and then it's the seal a meal kind of thing. And I'll put stuff in the freezer, and I'll get a Costco rotisserie chicken every couple of weeks and get tons of meals off of that, and then boil the bones and make soup. So for a $5 chicken, I'm probably eating 20 meals.
Yeah, it's true.
So, I'm not the greatest penny pincher in the world, but there are just some things right there in my own life that I took a look at, and I think, could I afford to go a little bit more extravagant than that? Probably. But then that gives me maybe a few extra dollars to put in the collection basket at church on Sunday, or to donate to my favorite charity like EWTN.
That's true. No, that's very true. Jerry, we talk about this a lot on the show, actually, about this difference between wants and needs. And for me, I'm at a place in my life, maybe it's just the age I am, where I'm constantly saying to myself, do I need this? And if I don't need it, I don't get it, or I don't eat it, or I don't do any of the above, because and it's so freeing when you get to that point where you just say, do I really need this? And the answer is no. It's like, it's almost like a free ticket of saying, you know what? I'm not attached to that. It's not going to bind me. It's not going to hold on to me. And it's a very wonderful place to be. And it's taken me 50 plus years to get here. But I like it. I wish I had learned this 20 years ago.
Well, let's hear from some others who have arrived at that place of maybe a little bit of a detachment, interior detachment, when it comes to not having to have the best. So many things tie into this topic today. I have a cell phone that's about 5 years old. Some people want to upgrade every year, and I'm about due, because it's reached that point of planned obsolescence. But maybe you don't have to upgrade your phone or your gadget every year. Maybe you shop for the most cost-effective phone plan that still gives you good service. Maybe you clip coupons. We did a show on that. Maybe you create your own cleaning solutions or soaps, or maybe you burn candles instead of having the lights on. How do you pinch pennies? That is what we're talking about today on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Our phone number is 1-800-585-9396. So
we say this every single show. If you have something to say about this topic, please participate. It's great to listen to the show. We love all the comments we get from all the listeners, but those that call in, it really makes a difference, because it impacts lives right away. So here's the number, 1-800-585-9396. If you don't have a few minutes to wait to be on the show, then you can text us. You text the letters EWTN to 55000. Wait for a response, then put your first name in, your question or your comment, and we'll be happy to put it into the discussion. We're talking about pinching pennies today. It does relate to our spirituality. It does relate to our faith walk. So that we always have a way of weaving it in. Keep that in mind. You may think we don't have this planned, but we do. And God is in control. 1-800-585-9396.
Okay, we'll have Rich roll the break. I'm logged out of Stack right now, Rich, so if you want to roll that break, I will work on that as we get that taken care of here. It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We got some of your calls that we're going to get to. Pinching pennies. Share with us, because I'd love to start saving money in the ways that you do, and just not spending as much. 800-585-9396. We are coming right back, so stay with us.
Living the Beatitudes with Father Bjorn.
Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth.
What does this strange beatitude mean? Well, Father Victor Feltz points out that George Bailey, in It's a Wonderful Life, embodies this beatitude. He has to sacrifice his bucket list items and his dreams in order to save the building and loan company of Bedford Falls. But by the end of the movie, he realizes that he's truly the richest man in town. The Beatitudes challenge our understanding of happiness both as individuals and as a society. They're paradoxical and they upend our priorities. We don't need anyone to tell us that good fortune, money, and success do often make us happy. But we wouldn't have thought that the road to riches in God's kingdom is paved with meekness. It doesn't mean denying your gifts, but it does challenge us to allow others to have the spotlight and to approach them with gentleness. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth.
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic. Listen to EWTN radio day or night. Audio on demand brings you your favorite EWTN programs, prayers, and devotionals instantly to you for free. Visit EWTNapps.com and get started today.
It's the start of a new day for Morning Catholic Radio.
There's also a warning where he says, whoever's ashamed of me and my teachings in this ungodly age, I will be ashamed of him before my heavenly Father in heaven. So let's all remember, we're going to appear before the judgment seat one day. The Lord will ask us, did you hear my prophecy?
Depart from me, you evildoers.
Yeah, we want to hear him say, well done, good and faithful servant.
Indeed.
Morning Glory, Catholic from the start. Weekday mornings, 7 Eastern on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
This is Bishop John Folda of the Diocese of Fargo.
This is Raymond Arroyo, host of The World Over.
This is Monsignor Charles Pope, Morning Glory Godly Counsel. Thanks for listening to EWTN Radio.
We're so glad you're with us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. I'm Debbie Georgiani along with Jerry Usher and you. You are the key player in this. Jerry and I are along for the ride. We really are. We learned so much from you. You have no idea how much you have impacted our spiritual lives. So please participate. 1-800-585-9396. This is an interactive show. We introduce a topic like pinching pennies, and you have something to say about it. And we all walk away from this hour a little bit changed, a little bit better inside, and a little bit closer to God. That's what Take Two is all about. So right to the phones. Ron in Cleveland, Ohio, listening on The Rock. Hi, Ron. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Hi, Ron.
Hey, Ron.
Hello? Hello?
Hello, you're on.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi, Ron. Go ahead. What's up?
I'll be dipped. I've got some advice on funerals.
Okay.
And the advice will be not for pennies, it's for thousands of dollars. Too many people spend so much money on funerals. Some advice is if you have to go to a funeral home and they tell you they want to take you down to look at the caskets, don't go. Just ask for the cheapest casket. It's a good one. It's a good one. They don't buy your vault from the funeral director. Buy the vault from the cemetery if you have to. But you can buy a casket and a vault, like in Cleveland. There's a private store that sells them cheaper than anybody can get, and the funeral directors have to accept them. So you can say you can buy the vault and the casket. If you have to go to a cemetery, if you go to a cemetery, and unfortunately Catholic cemeteries are so expensive. All cemeteries are expensive. Although there are some city cemeteries that will bury you fairly reasonable, and if you can also find a place where they don't have to have vaults. The vault, the reason why the cemeteries want vaults is it doesn't protect the casket. Well, it does that, but it stops them from backfilling in when the caskets corrode, and that saves them money. So if you can find a cemetery where you don't have a vault, use a vault. That's even cheaper. If you really want to go cheap, will your body to a medical school. They'll pick it up and take care of it and use it for experiments, which can really help the future people, and then bury it in a private cemetery. So that's some advice. Too many people go to the funeral home, and they have an idea what is called grief therapy. So if you go look at the caskets, and guy says, you say, I want this cheap casket. Guy says, well, you don't want to put your mother in that. So people spend $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 when they really can't afford it, but they're caught in that grief therapy idea. Okay, that's my idea.
Ron, I have a question for you. Isn't that cheapest casket? Isn't that like a pine box though?
No.
No.
But
Okay.
they might show a picture of a pine box, but they won't dare show that on the floor.
Okay, gotcha. Because I think that's what makes people a little bit uneasy, because it just seems, like for your loved
you're
one.
Scared. Yeah.
So it sounds like you really have, I guess, unfortunately, have gone through this experience, and so you don't want others to have, be caught in that trap of spending, a ton of money that they don't have to bury their loved one. It sounds like you went through this experience.
Well, absolutely. Well, I also taught it. So I taught a
okay.
consumer class, and I would bring in an undertaker. I shouldn't tell you this, but he had a miniature vault under one arm and a miniature casket on the other arm, and he put it on the desk, and he says, we're the crookedest people in this country, but we're legal.
Wow.
So
well,
very hard.
That's kind of forthright. Ron, I don't know if you listened some months ago. In February, my sister passed away, and my brother-in-law, her husband, and I made the visits to the funeral home and the mortuary, or maybe that's the same thing. I don't know. That's the cemetery and the funeral home. And I got quite a lesson myself. I thought, boy, dying is expensive, and they had actually done a little bit of planning, so they kind of had an idea how much it was going to cost, because my sister had a diagnosis. She knew she was going to pass away. But I agree with you, and I think if everybody, this is one of those things that, Debbie, it's kind of like a will or, health directives or things. We don't necessarily want to think about our funeral, but it would make a lot of sense, I think, to be thinking ahead and maybe planning ahead. And I know you can even purchase like plots at the cemetery in advance and stuff like that. So I think Ron's pointing to something here where we could potentially save a lot of money.
Well, yeah, I was in financial advising for many years, Ron, and we used to advise our clients to really plan out. I mean, I know it's on a topic that a lot of people don't want to discuss. I get that. But we're all going to face death, and when you can alleviate your loved ones from having to make those hard decisions and feel guilty about if they don't spend enough, it does really help out the ones that are left behind to make those decisions. So, Ron, I think what you have to say is really important, and I appreciate what you imparted to us today, because it does wake us up that we do have to, we're going to all face these decisions, and we should have all the facts, and you presented that today, so I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Ron, for the call. Quickly over to Sarah. We got full phone lines here talking about how you pinch pennies, save on some of the gifts that God has given you. Sarah is in Kansas City, Missouri. Hi, Sarah. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi. First of all, I want to tell you that I just absolutely love your show.
Thank you.
And one thing, well, there's two things that I do, my husband and I do. When we get paid, we set a certain amount that we're going to save, and we pay ourselves first before any money goes out for bills or mortgage or anything. I was taught that at a young age, and it really, really helps. And the other thing that I do that is, I kind of stole this from a national talk show host, but it really works. Anytime I get a $5 bill, if a 20 is broken and I get a $5 bill, I put it in an envelope. And you would be surprised how those $5 bills add up. I mean, you just set your mind that you're not going to spend a $5 bill. It's not much, but I'm telling you, over a year's time, it adds up.
Wow. I got a couple things I can say to that, Sarah, and reminds me. I have this this little square can. I think tea originally came in it, but what I would do when I used to pay with cash, which I hardly ever do anymore. I like to get the points on my credit cards for my airline, so I pay pretty much everything with credit cards. But when I would do that, I would take the change from my transaction and I would put it in that. I called it the Can Club. I just gave it this cute little name. And I would just stuff, $2, $3, $4 in there, some change, and a little Pringles tube. And I actually went back after a few years, and I had several $100s in there. So I know what you're talking about. And I've pretty much blown through all that now, and I don't add to it anymore. But just in the last 3 or 4 days, twice, I have seen a penny on the ground. And what did I do? I bent down and picked it up. Each time, because
I've done that. I've done that too. But I'm telling you, try the $5 bill because it's just you would just be amazed at the end of the year what you collected in that envelope, and it really, really helps. And you just get to the point. I'm so used to it now that it's just anytime I have a $5 bill, boom, it goes into that envelope, and it's just I don't even miss it. So I hope this is helpful for some people out there, and they need to try it.
It was for me, Sarah, because I made a note of it. I'm going to start it today just to let you know, and you'll have to check back. I'll let you know how much I have at the end of the year. But do you remember the old Christmas clubs? I mean, I know that some credit unions still do it, but I remember that growing up. And I remember my mother getting the money back at the end of the year for Christmas shopping, and it was the nicest way to conservatively save money, and I just loved it. And it sounds like this is very similar. And I love the exercise you did about paying yourself first. I have heard that before, and actually, and that is, I think what you're doing is great practices, and it's going to help me. So thank you, Sarah. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
All right. 1-800-585-9396. Take two with Jerry and Debbie for a Monday, talking about pinching pennies, saving, cutting back a little bit here and there, and then maybe if you have some thoughts of if you managed to do that, what was the motivation? Maybe you wanted to give a little bit more to church or charity, or support a missionary, give to pro-life work, something along those lines. So we've got a number of you on hold. We just take you right in the order that you called. So Debbie is next in near Detroit, Michigan, listening on Ave Maria Radio. Hi, Debbie. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi.
Hi, Debbie.
I have an idea that I've been doing for maybe 6-7 months through the church. They collect for Mary's Mantle. It's for the Crisis Pregnancy Center. And I started collecting, donating outfits, diapers, food, things like that, and from a regular store. And then it occurred to me that if I went to the thrift store, I could get baby clothes. You go through them, search through them, and pick out the good ones. I've gotten to the point now that I go to the thrift store on days that they have half-price sales, and I will walk out of there with bags of things with labels on them and blankets and winter onesies and I mean the stuff that babies will wear once or twice that you stay within that newborn limit, and because that's what they're looking for. And I cannot get over the amount of things that I have donated, and it brings me such joy because I get to do that and spend normally what would cost a lot of money and feel like I am getting away with something because I'm not spending anything really, for the amount of things that I'm able to donate. So that's my thing that I've been doing lately.
Debbie, you found a very clever way to be in ministry. That's what you did, and it's brilliant. I mean, you realize you're in a ministry, right?
No.
Well, yeah.
No, I just do it because I like to be thrifty, and it brings me joy. Is what the motivation was part of the motivation behind getting into the donating that way.
Right.
To the Crisis Pregnancy Center. It was a personal choice that I made, and it's like I said, just one thing rolled right into the other, and I thought, gosh, this is great. I go in there with these bags, and it's just wonderful. No, I never looked at it as a ministry, though.
Well, yeah, because look at the effort that you're putting into it. I mean, it's very creative, and a lot of times, I mean, there's no disrespect to this, but a lot of times it's very easy for someone to pull out their checkbook and they'll write a check or donate that way, but you're actually putting a lot of effort into it. And that is a ministerial attitude. It's a beautiful. I think it's wonderful. I mean, I think you're going to inspire a lot of people to do the same thing. I mean, and you have to imagine that when God. I mean, I would think that when. What do you think, Jerry? When God's looking down at this and seeing Debbie going to these places and doing the prudent thing of getting these wonderful bargains, if you will, and then donating them, He's saying, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." That's what I think, anyway.
Well, I hope so, because I'm a thrift store junkie.
Really? Okay.
So, Debbie, thanks for your call, Debbie.
Thanks,
have a great day. Hazel, you're going to be next. We got Jose in South Bend, Indiana, and a line open. Inspire us, educate us on being good stewards with what God has given us. How do you pinch pennies? If you can list 3 ways, that'd be great. Or just one at 800-585-9396.
When you deal with God, get out of the way.
The incomparable Mother Angelica. She broke the mold of Catholic teaching with her one-of-a-kind perspective. From her spunky spiritual growth talks to her eye-opening scripture study. A nun like none other.
I intended to scare the hell out of you.
She was the one, the only, the non-forgettable Mother Angelica. Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio and television.
This is Life Issues with Brad Mattis, president of Life Issues Institute.
Much of America is talking about today's total eclipse of the sun witnessed by millions across the country. It actually bears ironic symbolism with abortion. During the eclipse, the moon hides the life-giving rays of the sun, but it's only temporary. We don't need to panic or resort to drastic action, but just wait for the moon's shadow to pass. The same can be true of an unexpected pregnancy. Circumstances may hide the life-giving joy of pregnancy, but it's only temporary. There's no reason to panic or resort to killing the baby by abortion, but instead wait for the difficult and uncertain time to pass. Considering the baby's lifetime of living, the pregnancy can be compared to the brief darkness of the eclipse. Please pray for mothers facing a time of shadows.
Follow us on Twitter at Life Issues USA and stay informed, more informed than you've ever been.
We know you like listening to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio, but have you thought about bringing them to your next event? No matter what type of event you're hosting, parish mission, conference, or retreat, trust Jerry and Debbie to make it come alive. Begin the process today of taking your presentation to the next level of success. For information on booking Jerry and Debbie, visit take2show.com, click on the J&D logo.
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
Back to the phones on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. And there's an open phone line, so jump in. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. Come on. You can do it. 1-800-585-9396. We're talking about pinching pennies today, and we want you to impart your wisdom so we can all take notes and learn and grow a little. So if you want to call in, now's the time to do it. Hazel called in from Albany, New York, listening on EWTN.com. Hi, Hazel. Welcome.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Oh, good. Okay, thank you so much for taking my call. And I wanted to say, first of all, how much I enjoy your program when I can get a chance to hear it. So I'm in my office at lunchtime using my lunch break to listen to you. So this is the way that I pinch pennies. My job offers a bus pass, and so I don't use my car, and I save that money so that I can contribute it to a charity. So at the end of the year, I get a lot of requests for donations in the mail, like every day. So I look at the requests, and so like Food for the Poor, I might donate some money to Food for the Poor. I mean, whatever I've been able to save from not using my car during the course of the year. It's not that I never use my car, but whenever I can use the bus, I use the bus. So like recently, my husband and I were going to the airport. So ordinarily, we would have taken a cab, okay, because we're going to be gone for a long period of time. But we actually took 2 buses to go to the airport. And we saved a lot of money, and so now someone can eat for maybe a month with that amount of money.
Wow.
I love it. Yeah,
I do too.
One of the things I had on my list, Hazel, was consolidating errands and sort of mapping them out, sort of in an order of distance. And I actually have a really neat way of doing that in my own life. There's a gym that I go to most days, and on the way to that gym is a post office if I need to mail anything. Also on the way is the UPS store where I have my business mailing address, and right next to that is it's a really cool Mexican grocery store that I go to. Got incredible produce at great prices. So, I just go bang, 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 without getting off the beaten path, and I've run 4 or 5 errands, really all in almost a straight line. So, I love your thought about getting on the bus. Deb, do you take the bus anywhere?
I actually we have different transportation systems in Arizona, and I actually, as I've gotten a little bit older, Hazel, or I should say more mature, I love doing things. I love being creative, not taking the car. In fact, we have a little small grocery store just about a mile away from our home. And the other night, I said to my husband, let's walk up to the store and get what we need and walk back, because we'll get our exercise. And it's really, I find that it's fascinating. In the old days, when I was younger, I would jump in the car for everything. And like you said, Hazel, I'd park the car down at the airport and spend all this money. Now I'm looking for creative ways of taking the tram or doing something. And it's actually fun. I find that as I matured, it's become just, I'm enjoying life better than just jumping in the car and racing around. I sense that it's similar for you too, but you're using that money you're saving to help charities, and I think that is wonderful. Do you find that, Hazel, that as we get older, we're realizing that it's just kind of, it can be very simple?
Yes, and also it's an opportunity to evangelize, because I have holy cards that I can pass out. Sometimes people, when I'm on the bus, I'll ask them how they're doing, and they're saying they're not doing well. And so I'll say that I'll pray for them. And so I do, and sometimes I invite people to church when I'm on the bus. But one other thing that I do, in terms of penny pinching, is my husband and I have decided we won't give each other presents for Christmas. And so what we will do would be, I would give him, I would feed a child for a year, okay? And that's not a lot of money in a developing country. And I would give him like a certificate that said, I fed a child for a year for you, or I bought a goat for a family.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you guys have a lot in common with us. We could, if we lived closer, you're in New York, I'm in Arizona, we could hang out together, because I tell you, my husband and I did the same thing a couple of years ago. We're done with exchanging gifts. I have enough clothes, enough jewelry, I don't want any more. I really want to do something, and that's what we do as well, Hazel. I love that idea. What do you think of that, Jerry? Just kind of letting go of the gift?
I think it's great. Yeah. I have learned a ton from you, Hazel. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Appreciate the call to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Talking about being frugal, being good stewards with God's money, pinching pennies. I told you, Debbie, listen to the examples that are just flowing in from our great listeners today. I knew everybody who's listening, you've got ways that if you haven't yet tried to cut back and pinch a few pennies here, you're learning some ways to do that today. 1-800-585-9396. All right, Jose is next in South Bend, Indiana. He's got us on Redeemer Radio. Hi, Jose. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. How are you?
Oh, hi. I just wanted to congratulate you guys. You guys touch on so many good topics, from faith to just practical life. And so this topic, I guess, was... I started thinking one of the few things that we have done at home, I guess, is things about efficiency. We invested on efficient fixtures, I guess, or appliances. One thing is just like a washer, like a front loading washer. You only use it like a third of the water that a regular conventional washer does. So, like on a family that has a few kids, you at the end of the month when you get your water bill, it adds up to a lot. The other thing that we changed was we have an instant water heater. So in that way, you're not heating water, when you're not using it. Right. And that, adds up to a lot of on your monthly bills. And the latest things that we have done is actually, how the credit cards have quite a few credit cards now. They give you the cash back and all these things. Mm-hmm. What we started doing is actually, and this is probably, you have to just be kind of strict with yourself, but the same things that we usually buy, that we will buy normally, we just buy with a credit card, so we accumulate the cashback, and that's at the end of the year, when we, for Christmas time or something, for gifts and things like that for different people, that has been a way that we, instead of, credit cards are there to get you, to charge you and all this stuff, about paying it before the bill comes, if they don't charge you anything, and they have to give you the cash back. So,
right, and those can add up. Those can really add up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but Jose, here's the thing. What you just shared about having an energy efficient home and kind of looking for those ways to save money. I mean, you can really save a lot of money. And what's beautiful about that is not only can that go into your savings, but like Jerry shared at the beginning of the show, you can use that money in a great way to help others in a charitable way. And so it's a win-win all the way around. And I just love what you had to say, because so many times we just kind of maybe mindlessly go along. We get the bill, we pay it, we move on, we get our paycheck, we pay all the bills. We just mindlessly move along, and we can be saving money and doing much better for our souls and for others as well. And I just love what you had to share. What do you think, Jer?
I agree. Several things, Jose, that you mentioned, I do in my house as well. And I just wanted to mention, too, that, Jose, your ideas and everybody else's, we're not talking about doing without or living in poverty or suffering or any. These are just simple ways of finding creative ways where we maybe don't need to spend quite as much. And I definitely, like on my wash machine, it's got the different settings. I always run just a quick wash, which is about 20 minutes. And when I run the dishwasher, a lot of times I'll do the dishes by hand to save that. But when I do run the dishwasher, I open it up about halfway, whenever the wash part is done, and it doesn't need to rinse, because I'll open the door and let it dry, by the air. So, yeah, Jose, good stuff. Anything else before we let you go?
No, I guess the only, the thing, I mean, you're also contributing, for contamination and all this stuff, so I think that's the main thing that I keep thinking, I mean, you're saving, but at the same time, you contribute not to contaminate anymore, that you have to, so.
Right,
yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
It's a multi-pronged effect. Yeah, thank you, Jose.
Thank you. And thank you for the kind words as well. We really appreciate it. Robert in San Angelo. Thank you. Robert in San Angelo, Texas. You've been waiting so patiently, listening on Guadalupe Radio Network. Hi, Robert. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Hi, Robert.
Hello.
Hello, you're on the air.
Hi, how are y'all? Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you. What wisdom do you have to impart to us on penny pinching?
Well, my story starts back in 2014. My wife and I, we had been living very, not handling our finances properly, and we got to a point where we just, we just couldn't make it anymore, and I didn't know what I was doing wrong, and I felt my wife, I felt a lot of pressure. She handled the bills, and, I tried to provide. And we decided to do something different, and in the process, also change our families' lives. My dad would always help me if I needed a hand, and I knew that I couldn't rely on him forever. So we changed we got out of debt. In 9 months, we paid off all our debt. and we cut off like our cell phones. We went to the bare minimum of just being able to eat and provide a roof over our homes. And and after the fact, after we paid off all our debt, we handle our finances a little different. And I felt the calling that this is not just for me, but there's other families out there just like me. And so I started helping families at church. And once a year, I help families go and learn how to do this. And now there's programs out there that'll help. And I just, I help families do the same thing because I feel a great joy from doing that. And I felt a calling to do that.
Wow. This actually goes above and beyond much of what we've had shared already, all of which has been good, Robert. But Debbie, this the sort of the ripple effect, this not just doing this so that we can have a little bit more on our own bank account or maybe give to the church or a charity or something, which is all good. But I mean, this is really the gospel in action. A concrete example of Robert and his wife actually, putting a face on charity. It's their face, and I can only imagine the blessing that this is, Robert, for the people that you've done this for.
Yeah, it's a beautiful ministry. Robert, I was just in awe of you and your wife taking it on in 9 months, getting out of debt. I just actually saw a program this weekend, and I forgive me, I cannot quote it accurately, the statistic of how many American households are in debt. And it's so alarming. And when you said there's a lot of people out there, there's more than a lot of people out there living from paycheck to paycheck and racking up credit cards. And for you and your wife to get out of debt in 9 months and then to turn it into a ministry to help others, I mean, you are freeing so many people to live an abundant life, and they can just be free of that, because that's where abundance is being free of all these things that bind us and keep us down and cause the stress in our life. And it sounds like when you guys were in debt, I mean, that caused quite a bit of stress on your life, and now there's such a freeing aspect of it. I would love to hear your comment on that.
It did, for sure. Our stress level dropped from pretty much, I felt like we were kind of getting sick at some points, and where now we have no worries. We have the normal worries of, we have our 5 children and day-to-day activities, but it's nothing like before. It runs a little smoother, and it's totally stress-free to a point, financially. And I want to, that's the part that I want to just yell at the top of my lungs to help everyone, to be able to be in a position like this, because there's nothing like it.
Yeah, I can only imagine, Robert, maybe you know that this has happened, maybe you don't know if it's happened, but those that you have helped, I can't help but think they're going to learn from your example. They're going to be inspired by that, and they may not be able to do exactly what you've done for them for another family or another couple, but they're going to give that away as well. So this is going to be one of those things that's just going to have, like I said, the ripple effect. It's going to keep giving and giving and giving, and so you've started something really great there.
Yeah,
I hope
absolutely.
So.
Robert, are you guys on dry land? You're several hours away from Houston. How are you guys doing?
Oh no, it's fine here. We've had just regular showers, but nothing extreme.
Okay, just making sure, because prayers are going out to everybody in Texas, and I know it's probably on your minds and hearts continuously, because the coverage out here in Arizona is nonstop about what's happening in Texas. So I can only imagine what kind of news coverage you're getting right there. So.
Thanks, Robert, for the call. We've got a few more that we're going to have time for here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Just want to remind you again about Amazon Echo. These, I guess, what do they call them, Debbie? Are they like not personal assistants, but those different companies? Google has one, and anyway, Amazon,
like Alexa or something.
Yeah, exactly. Amazon, they call theirs Echo, and it's kind of a virtual personal assistant that allows you to just use your voice. If you thought life was easy before, if you thought you could listen to EWTN radio very easily before Alexa came along, now all you have to do is say, Alexa, play EWTN radio, and Alexa will mind. Alexa will do what you ask her to do. So check out the Amazon Echo today. I'm sure there's information about that on EWTN.com, or you can find it all over the internet, and make your life a little simpler.
Every time I hear of these new gadgets, Jerry, I just constantly go back and think of the Jetsons. You remember the Jetsons?
Oh, sure.
Rosie, the robot or whatever. I mean, we're turning into the real-life Jetsons. I love it, though. Great way to listen to EWTN. Okay, Teresa, you've been waiting so patiently in Arkansas, listening on Sirius XM 130. Hi, Teresa. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Yes, I was just going to add that when my children were teenagers, they always wanted the really expensive jeans and tennis shoes and stuff. And so what I did every school year, every July or August, I would have them to go into their closets and take inventory of things that they might need to start school. And so they would go in and try on and discard, and of course we would take that to Salvation Army or whatever that was close. And anyway, I would write them a check. They make a list of how many pairs of jeans they need and whatever else they need, and they would make a list, and I would itemize it out for them and write them a check. And then they had to take that money and go buy their own clothes. And if they spent it all on the most expensive pair of shoes, then that was going to be, their back-to-school clothes. And so they always would go to the clearance section first and try to fulfill their list, so then they could splurge on one or two things. And this saved a lot of money for us as far as having, teenagers.
Yeah, and that lesson, all of those lessons Teresa put together, have no doubt stayed with your children throughout their entire lives, because it teaches at a very young age you have X amount to work with, and that's all. Because, Debbie, I think you've had kids, I have not, but I've been a kid, and I remember what it's like to just kind of think that, mom or dad, they've got this endless supply of cash, so we're just going to head down to the department store, and every year, school clothes and Christmas, and just kind of like it's a blank check. And when we learn these lessons that, hey, it's really not that way, and then that responsibility is put onto the kids, and you tell them, you've got, here's all that you need, and here's what you have to spend. It creates a wonderful little learning exercise for them, I would imagine.
I was just going to say that. Teresa, I think the lessons that you gave your children with that exercise is just incredible. It's life-changing. How have they taken that into their adult life?
Well, one of them has really gone to the extreme, and to a point that he's in his mid-30s and about to pay off his home, and they have a beautiful home on a golf course, and they usually have their cars paid for within a year or two. Mm-hmm. And he's very, very conservative. And and the other ones are they're pretty conservative, but not quite as extreme as I think it really struck on the middle one.
Wow.
So I have 3 children.
Okay, so then you need to tell your son there that you are the reason why he's so successful in paying off everything. You did it when you got to remind him of that constantly. Yeah. I think Dr. Ray would say that or something like that, right?
Yes, and they're all generous to their great-grandmother. She's 98 years old, and they, they're always, sending her money to help her out, because she's, believe it or not, in assisted living. And they all 3 are always sending her, money to help pay for that. And so they've learned to be generous.
How sweet.
Mm-hmm. What a beautiful family. You're blessed, Teresa.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Teresa.
Thank you, Teresa.
Appreciate your call to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, talking about pinching pennies, some really great creative ways. So we're going to try to get to everyone else who's on the line. Tim is in Houston listening on Guadalupe Radio. Tim, thank you for calling Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. And first of all, how are you holding up there with the storm and everything?
Hi, Jerry. Yeah, everything's good so far when it comes to the storm and everything else. But heavy, of course, Houston is just really, really heavy with flooding. But from where we are, thank God, and of course, thank Jesus that everything is going good. No flooding is affecting us at all right now.
Thanks be to God.
Yes, absolutely.
So you wanted to weigh in on this penny pinching conversation?
Oh, yes, yeah. Well, pretty much I was listening to a good few other callers before me, and I just had to say I agree with the whole concept of paying yourself first. That's pretty much how I got involved in just making an extra service to to our community and whatnot. It was really big. How just over the past 4 years, since then, how I was just really struggling in debt, and of course I was able to get myself to increase my income, right? Because of course penny pinching is one thing, right? But if there's no fundamental process, because of course you don't want to focus on just getting by, right? You want to focus on increasing your income if you could, right? And that was based on fundamentals that like I said right now, when it comes to paying yourself first, right? I believe, there was another caller who said this, but paying yourself first, 10%, I thought, wow, I have to go on the air and I have to talk about that because that is so key to everyone who is listening. 10% is the ultimate key to aim at, right? And then, of course, there's two others, right? Because 10% is just something that says, okay, things are good, they're on point, but if things are a little bit rough right now, aim at 5%, right? Because then, of course, you have something to put towards to, whether it be a retirement account, whether it be something to save towards to, right? Or even 15%, which is something that if you're already saving and things are great, go for that, right? But 5%, 10%, and 15% are a pay yourself first formula. That's actually a financial formula that's based in the financial services industry. So to hear that, I just had to elaborate a little bit more on that there. But and of course, so paying yourself first, like I said, is so important, right? And then of course, a second fundamental is becoming debt free, right? Because how can we move forward, but we're still struggling financially, and we're putting our saved money into those accounts, which it could either be 5%, 10%, 15%. But we're left with nothing, right? Paycheck to paycheck, which of course is pretty much a global problem right now, right? So becoming debt free is like another goal to add up to, and really just eliminate altogether, right? Because what good is it if someone wants to show us how to make $100,000 in investments, but we owe $150,000 in debt, right? So that just doesn't work, right? So overall, just having this plan of just getting out of debt completely, and then contributing to your accounts 100% after that freely with no financial struggle, you'll live an abundant life, blessed by God, and feeling more accomplished and feeling more fulfilled. But talking about that, yes, I had to share that. And of course, guys, there's even a chance for us to even get into a service or a program that teaches these fundamentals face-to-face. And that's what I do today, right? So like I said, after 4 years, this is what I teach the families as well.
Wow.
And I pretty much call on people every single day, letting them know, like, look, these are your options. This is how you can help. Right.
Well, Tim, but Tim, here's the thing. What you're saying is so fundamental for us to all sit up and take notice and to really pay attention to, because there's a little bit of discipline goes a long way. A plan also brings forth the fruits that come from it. Look for Robert and his wife. 9 months they got out of debt. Okay, and we can do that. We just have to set our minds to it and to be focused. And with Christ at the center of it, the blessings will come and will flow, and then the opportunities happen. So way to go, Tim. That was a home run with me. Thank you so much for that call. Lola, I'm so sorry we couldn't get to you. Please know that prayers are with you in Houston, Texas as well. Jerry?
Yeah, thanks everyone. Great start to the week. And Debbie will be, not solo tomorrow. She'll be joined by a guest, Dr. Chris Bergwald. We're going to talk about how does the faith inform, or how does it really guide every area of your life? Every area. Be thinking about that until tomorrow. Have a beautiful and blessed day.